going to take that as a yes with all of my silent people. All right. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Can you see? I want to make sure you're seeing my my screen with the that says at the top from Profit Camp. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I want you to answer these questions for yourself really quickly. My intent is for you to be able to come back and in 3 months, 6 months, and hopefully we're getting better and better at where this is. So I feel like I'm putting my soul into my business, maybe even sacrificing my personal life just in order to give life to my business. Rate yourself. Strongly disagree or agree? The next one, the only thing I see ahead is working more hours and having more stress with no end in sight. Rate yourself. I'm making enough money to live well and yet don't have the time to live well. I feel like I'm running on a treadmill and not going anywhere. I've been in a stress state for so long that it feels normal. And then the last one, I'm running my business, yet I'm not clear on how much profit I'm making or where that profit is. Okay. All right. That is just, again, that's self-awareness. And my intent is that if you have not taken Profit Camp, I know many of you took it this past in October. Some of you probably were like, okay, I've heard that before. It's starting to make more sense. Some of you may have been like, oh, wow, that was like drinking, water out of a fire hose. November 10th is the next Profit Camp. Highly recommend that you guys are involved in that. We're going to be business people. We've got to know our numbers. So today we're going to be looking at picking our profit. So we're going to get to this place right here when we look at the path of money. That's going to be where we wrap. My intent is to get us here so we wrap up the call today talking about this path of personal money. Then we're going to start talking about the path of business money. And yet that's where we're going to end up today. I am going to ask that so that you know where this form is. If you go into, and Mon, I didn't think to ask you before the call, if you'll put in the chat box the link to the personal budget along with the allocation form so that everybody has this.
All right, I'll do that right now.
Okay, perfect. Most of you, if you're in my coaching schedule, right, you've seen this Life by Design form, and yet it's one of those that we've given to you, you filled out, we went over it, and yet from Profit Camp, we have, there's some tweaks that I want to walk you guys through to make sure that we're really creating our Life by Design, okay? So we're going to look at profit goals, personal expenses, business expenses, and that profit plan. And yet we're going to start a little bit up here when we start talking about picking our profit. The 4 reasons that agents don't run a profitable business. They're managing a business for production, not for profit. I'm guilty of this, but how often do we talk about, right, how many units we sold? Well, does that matter if the profit's not there? Right? So a lot of us, well, I know it's on my W-2, my 1099 or whatever, right? But we don't know how much was their actual profit. And that's the purpose. They're not creating and following a budget. They're not reviewing their profit and loss balance sheet every month. They're spending all of their profit, not thinking strategically about how to reinvest in their business to increase that profit. So we're going to be looking at, this is not going to be us from now on. The 3rd week of every month, we're going to be looking at our profit and loss balance. We're going to look at our budget. We're going to be looking at our net worth, right? Are we being strategic business owners? And one of the great pieces that Jeannie talked about in the Profit Camp was, how do you know if you're a business owner or a realtor? Are you selling real estate to pay your bills? You're a realtor. Are you selling real estate to fulfill your purpose and have a life by design? Now you're running a business. Little bit of a paradigm shift right there. Business owners start with profit and end with expenses. Now, this could be a complete turnaround from the way that we used to look at this and think about this, because if you think, when we think about this, we typically think, okay, I had a closing, I've got income. My cost of sales came out, right? The things that have to pay for when it closes, my company dollar, things to that effect. And then let me pay my bills. And we hope at the end of the day, we have profit left over. Well, the new way of thinking and what Gary's challenging us, and if you haven't read the book, Profit First, that might go on your growth plan, the book Profit First. We want to think income, cost to sell, profit, owner salary, and then expenses. So if you notice, right, what's going to come out, profit. Okay, so this Life by Design form, you have this form. We've sent it to you. You've probably filled it out, but it's going to be in the chat box. You can, everybody's a little different. I find that it's most impactful when you do this by hand. You handwrite it. Some of you might not like your handwriting, etc. This is a fillable form. So you might even write it out and then come back and type it into that form. Whichever one you do, you're going to send to us and we're going to upload it into your hub, because we're going to be talking about this once a month. Okay, this was your Life by Design. This is what you said you wanted. Are we moving closer to that, right? So we're going to start with our, with this Life by Design. So there's 4 sections of the form: profit goals, personal expenses, business expenses, and profit plan. This is a tool to, it simply empowers us to achieve what we discussed, our profit first, right? So many of you, whenever we were doing the economic model, and this is not bad, this is just where we are. We said, what's your profit goal? We went blank stare. I don't know. Right now, if I ask GCI, sometimes you know that. If I ask units, volume, but we want to think business owners, and business owners think profit, right? So we're going to set our profit goals, and how are we going to do that? We're going to explore our personal expenses. We're going to take a close look at our business expenses, and then that helps us create our plan for profit. So this week, we're going to focus on 1 and 2. Next week on the call, we're going to look at business expenses, and then we'll wrap all of this up, okay? So when we say Life by Design, what are those experiences that you desire to have? You desire for your family members to have? What are those things that you would like to have? What is it that you really want to do? Do you want and intend to do? Do you want to have money set aside for kids' college, build up an emergency fund, pay off debt, buy a boat, buy into your market center, start another business, right? What are the things that you've been saying for far too long that someday I want to, or someday I will? You deserve better than to just dream about the future that you desire. So this is where we start. Okay. So let's plan on what you will do with the profit. Now, show of hands or unmute yourself. Were you able to open up the chat box and get the form?
Yes.
Okay. It is posted in the chat box now. So if you're not familiar, like, I don't know how often you've used Zoom. If you go to the More button on Zoom, you should see something that says chat. And then the personal budget and Life by Design form is right there. One tab is going to be the Life by Design, and then the second tab is the personal budget. Okay. If you don't have it, unmute and tell me that, or put it in the chat box and we'll make sure that you get that. Okay. And mine's gonna monitor that chat box. So when we look at doing this for profit, we're going to fill out this top part. You might even get your family involved in this, right? And then this is going to be the most important piece. Be specific. Don't round. This form is not about guessing. Guessing leads to that life by default, not by design. So vacation, how much is it going to cost? So you might look up the cost of the airline ticket. Where are you staying, right? The boat that you want to own. How much would it cost to run that business or buy that investment property, right? I'm happy to say that in the last month, two of the people that are in my coaching schedule, two of you guys have moved forward on buying their first investment property. Now, some of you've already been buying them and things, but yet that's super exciting. What's your plans for next year? Is there going to be another one? What do we, so it's about being intentional with the plan that you're designing so that you design the experience you choose to have, and you're putting it in here so that you know that you have the profits to ensure that you hit that piece. Okay. Now, after you've gotten very specific with your profit goals, remember, we have to pay taxes on that money. Okay. So I'm going to show you how that we pay the taxes. For right now, just jot a few things down on whatever the note that you're taking, or if you have it open. But let's say that you wanted to, pay off taxes. And let's say that you have a tax debt, an old tax debt of $21,242.50, whatever that is. Let's say that you want the down payment on a new investment property, and that's going to be $20,000. Whatever those, I want to go to India. What will that cost, right? That's what that's going to look like. Then you're going to come down here and you're going to add those up and put the total. And then we're going to add the taxes. Now, sometimes what happens when we add the taxes is we just say, okay, we take that number and we multiply it by 30%. That's not going to work. So what you want to do is reverse engineer your tax exercise. Okay. Now, this is going to be new to many of us. I'm going to run through it really quick, and then we'll address any questions. And I may not know all the answers. We'll get there. So number one, what is your tax rate percentage? If you don't know, you're going to check with your CPA or your accountant. It is vitally important that you know your tax bracket. Okay. So if you don't know, write that down. Let's find out what your tax bracket is. For today, the sample, we're going to say that it's 30%. Okay. We're going to use that as the example. You're going to take your tax bracket and you're going to subtract that from 100. So again, we're using 30 in our example. But if it was 20, you'd use 20, 25, whatever. And we take 100 minus 30 is 70%. That's your percentage. So you take your total profit goal. In this example, we're saying 100,000, and you're going to divide that by 70%, whatever your rate, whatever that gives you the number that you're going to come back up here and fill in right here. Okay, so you're going to add your taxes. So in this example, and again, we want to do it by the penny, but if let's say that our total was 100, we had a 30% tax rate, our tax rate was 30%. Then we're going to take that 100,000, we're going to divide it by what's left over. That gives us this number. So 142,857 and 14 cents. Okay. Then you're going to say, all right, what's my average commission? This is also something that we don't want to guess at. You've been tracking your numbers, right? You've been in my schedule for very long at all. You've been tracking. Take your GCI, divide it by, right? Your how many units you've sold. That's going to give you your average commission. And in this example, we're going to say, let's say our average commission is $5,200. So I'm going to take that 142 $857.14, divide that by the 5,200, and it is 27.47. So we're going to round. This is the only time you're okay to round. We're going to round up. 28 transactions would ensure that I hit my profit goal. That doesn't talk business. That doesn't talk expenses, anything like that. That's just the Life by Design piece. Okay, so I'm going to pause really quickly. Any questions around this piece?
I've got a question. So if we base that for our Life by Design and end up with the 142, you know, obviously we've got that $43,000 sitting aside. Again, with the expenses and that type of thing, we can dividend that out separately, but to make sure we've got the Life by Design, that's the amount we have to come up with. Is that correct?
Ask me. I'm not sure that I'm completely tracking your question.
Okay, so if I want to take home 100,000, I've got to have about $43,000 that makes sure that my taxes are covered, right?
Yeah.
So in my tax account, I'm going to have $43,000.
Mhm.
Now, that's not based on our expenses that we
No,
have
we're
within
getting-
our business? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
Steve, yeah, this is just paying taxes on our profit. Yeah. So we're going to
Okay.
get to there. Yeah.
Okay,
Any other questions?
because I didn't know if that reduced that or not, but yeah.
No, not yet. Yeah. No, not yet. Anybody else? Questions, thoughts, anything in the chat box, Mon?
There's no questions in the chat box.
Okay. So let's look at the personal budget, because the thing is, and this is the other piece. And again, this is on me because I have taken your personal expenses and we haven't really itemized them on this form. This form is only after you've done this next form. Now, if you look at this form, analyzing your personal expenses, this is not all encompassing. It is, though, personal expenses. It does not your personal budget. We don't want your business things on here. Kids' college doesn't go on here because right, that went on the Life by Design. But your monthly budget is what we want. So these are the typically monthly or reoccurring costs. The reason that I say that it's not all inclusive is maybe you have something that's a monthly budget that's not included. You can just add that piece, right? And yet this is, and the way that you want to do this is take everything that it takes you to live. These are expenditures, again, outside of your business. They are not to be paid out of your business. Our personal expenses should never be paid out of the business account. Your business should pay you a salary and then you pay your personal expenses. So your kid's cell phone bill, car payment, unless your company owns the car, we don't use the company card for these personal items. It becomes an accounting nightmare. So the list I'm showing you here, it's not, again, not all encompassing. It is an example. And
Is
so
this list going to be on your,
yeah, if you click on the link, it's the second tab.
so you assured me 2 weeks ago, you only had one Zoom meeting. I just got on this one because you got a new Zoom meeting now.
What?
This is not the same Zoom meeting me and you was on a while ago, ID or whatever.
No, it is in your weekly, on the weekly, if you go to the hub, the weekly.
I got you. I've been waiting on you. So.
Okay, so now we look at, okay, so back to the Life by Design form. and the personal budget. If you, so think this is, and you guys will get this, but there are things that we don't pay monthly. So one of the things that you want to do is go back to January, do a 12-month, go back through all of your bank statements and write down, right? This is what I paid, put it in the boxes, add them up, divide it by 12, and then that's what you're going to put in. There are some things that you pay quarterly. Take that, divide it by 3, and then add it in, right? How much money we're going to need for that month. The big piece here is you're going to have some one-offs. So maybe you had a one-off in January and you're going to be tempted to look at that and go, oh, I don't need to put that in my budget. It was a one-off. That's not going to happen again. Okay, that thing might not happen again, but you are going to have another one-off, right? So keep it in the budget, right? Because what we're looking right now is, yes, this is going to give us an idea, and you might make some decisions to cut some things from, due to awareness, but this is what have I actually been doing so far, and then we can look at the other, right? So there may be times in your checking account, because once we know what you spend personally every month, and let's say it's only due once a quarter, so there might be some extra money in your account because that's not going to come out for 3 months, right? And yet you've already got it set in. That's okay. Leave it there. Don't be tempted to go, oh, I have more money in my account, I get to spend it, right? Because it's already been allocated for that. So again, fill this out to the penny, not the nearest dollar. Fill it out to the penny. Again, I said this, I just want to make sure that you guys heard me. This does not include putting money away for vacations, stock market contributions, because that goes under your Life by Design section, okay? This is specifically monthly personal household bills, okay? And again, take the last 12 months and go through it, which means if you're like me, like there's not, and I love that they brought this up at Profit Camp. There's not one here that says Amazon. So that means you've got to go through your Amazon purchases and see what did you actually spend that money for, and which category would this go into, right? So again, 12 months statements, wherever you have credit cards or whatever you're paying, Amazon, don't cheat on a single item, right? Put it in there. And the intent with a personal budget, it's not a number just to aim for, it is your budget. Okay. And then again, this is going to be something the 3rd week of every month. We're going to check in. Where are you at? How are you doing? What do you need to make changes to? What are you learning? You should be able to say, it's 4,000, not, it's about 4,000 or 3,000 or 12,000. It doesn't matter, right? Everybody's gonna have a different personal budget. It's yours. And it's not about denying yourself. If your entertainment budget's $1,000 and it's not preventing you from the Life by Design, well, heck, go with you, right? Like that's where you get to this is your Life by Design. You get to create it. And then think about things like, okay, Christmas gifts. How much money do you spend on Christmas? Divide that by 12. New socks, once a year school supplies. That should go in there, right? And then you're going to hold yourself to not allowing yourself to overspend your personal budget so that we can hold those funds accountable. It's critical. Again, you're creating it. So it's not about like, oh, I shouldn't have this or I shouldn't have that. No, you're going to go, you know what? I'm going to have Netflix and Hulu, and I'm going to order movies. Like whatever that is for you, we just want to be intentional about it. Then we're going to, then we can start tracking it so that, later there's ways to make it more fun and kind of gamify this. And you might get surprised about what your personal behaviors are. Something might show up that will surprise you. One of the things I'll tell one on me years ago, I tracked what I spent on going out to eat. And I kept telling myself, I'm single. It's cheaper to eat out. $900 in 1 month was not cheaper to eat out. And yet this was a lie that I told myself, right? Because it's so easy to do because it's $5 here, $10 there, right? But yeah, so you might be surprised about what your personal behaviors are. Now, again, if you choose to have that $900 one person in a month, eating, that's fine. But are we lying to ourselves about it? Or do we have it in our budget so we know that we need to spend X amount of dollars, right? Now, there was a question that came up that I thought was pretty interesting. What if your significant other pays for everything, and so you don't need to know the personal budget? Maybe they pay for all the personal budget. Well, what if you could, or what if, God forbid, something happened to your significant other? Could you still stay afloat? So there's not a right way or a wrong way. And yet, what if you said, what, let's say that, what if I did cover everything just so that I could, that would cover profit, right? So just keep that in mind. If you are in a household where your significant other pays for everything, you can choose to go, hey, but what if what would I need to cover that? Ultimately at MAPS, we just want to ensure that you're never in financial trouble. So you might just go through the exercise so that you know what you would have to make in order if you were going to cover all of the personal budget as well. Okay. All right. So what this does is allow us to get real about point A so that we can find point B. And once you have your personal budget filled out, then you're going to go. So any questions about the personal budget? We good?
I clicked on the link and it's only letting me view it.
Okay, so we'll make the adjustment so that it's editable. Thank you for that.
I had put in there, Olivia, I pay for boarding for horses. So is that on a personal budget or is that a Life by Design item?
Both.
That's a great question. That's a great question. He's laughing because that would, so I'm going to say that's going to be personal budget. That's personal budget. Because, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Now there is something that I do want to point out. Let's say that you pay yourself as a W-2 employee out of your business, and that amount is enough to cover your personal budget. If that's the case, then right here, you don't need to add taxes in because they're already being paid.
I've got, you just got to sign
That
it.
makes sense?
I'm gonna send it to you, but
Thank you, Mon. Yeah, does that make sense? So again, if you're a W-2 employee, then you don't have to add taxes because it's already coming out. Unless you're not paying yourself enough as a W-2 employee, then you would have to bring that back in, okay? But if taxes are already being taken out by your company, then you don't have to add taxes right here because it's already there, okay?
Olivia, just a question. So, I mean, how many people are doing it one way or another? And if you're a private corporation, are you supposed to be paid out as a W-2 for that? I'm assuming maybe yes.
So I'm going to say, refer that back to your CPA. I know if you're an S Corp, you can pay yourself the W-2. So there's I use a company called Paycheck. And I think it's like, I don't have it in front of you. I want to say it's like $72 a month. And they pull out and pay my taxes and everything from that. So I don't have to think about it or worry about it. I will tell you, I'm that agent that did not take this stuff seriously and was like, oh, I'll just close another deal. I'll just close another deal. Guess what? Every time you close another deal, which you owe Uncle Sam. Yeah, bit me in the butt. And so my intent is to, how do we get in front of that so it doesn't bite anybody else in the butt? So yes, you can, if you have, so I don't know about your particular one, but if you're an S Corp, you can do it where you can pay yourself with a W-2. Okay. Okay, any other questions? All right, so now we look at, so we've got our Life by Design. You're going to take that money from your personal expenses and you're going to do the same thing, right? They grouped an amount per year. You're going to have your total. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to add your tax total amount based on your tax bracket, right? Just like we did before. So if your tax bracket's 30%, you're going to, and let's say again for this, let's say that your total comes up to 120,000. You're going to take that 120,000 divide that by 70%, and you're going to have 171, 428, 57. So how many units are, then you go average commission. I like Sylvia's average commission better. I'm using a lower one, but Sylvia's got a better one. Just picking on her a bit, but so 5,200. So, okay, so I would need 33 transactions, right? So right now, if I looked at that, I'm going to go 28 plus 33. Before I look at my business expenses, I need 61 transactions. That covers my Life by Design and my personal expenses. All right, any questions around that? Maybe an aha or comment, anything?
I'm just glad you're doing this.
Oh, okay, that's good, because I'm like, if I'm putting you to sleep, right? Like, I know we don't always love numbers, and yet we're business people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it also, like, seeing it, you know, when you see the total that you need is 100,000, but then when you add the taxes, it's like, Jesus Christ, you know. But then when you break it down to like units, I sell 28. That sounds a little better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so all the numbers, right? They're talking and telling that story. I love that. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So now, and we've looked at that personal bit. So if we move into this personal business expenses, we've looked at this on a previous webinar just quickly. So you're going to basically do the same thing with your personal budget that you're going to do with your business budget. Go back the last 12 months, create your business budget. And then of course you have to look forward and go, well, where am I planning on spending money in 2020? Am I going to hire an admin? Does my admin, has she been with me long enough? Am I going to, you know, is there a bonus structure? Is there a, am I going to give her a raise, him or her raise? Am I pulling in a company like Conversion Monster or Phone Animal to make contacts? Am I going to, you know, viral marketing to create videos and stay in touch with my database? Like, what are we doing in the future? What are we planning on ad spend on social media? That's the question that you're going to be, right, asking yourself when we look at the business budget. So if we looked at the business budget really quickly, one second, I'm transferring over to that page. Okay, so with your business budget, this gives you the groupings, right? For you to go through and go, okay, what did I spend? So you can basically, and I know that's kind of probably small, and it's the updated model, the MREA. So we'll make sure that this is in your open sources so that you can see it as well. And though, if you go to your hub and you click on the economic model, so we're going to do that really quickly. So give me 1 second. I'm going to stop my share and then reshare. So if you go to your hub and click right here on the economic model, there's a budget model right here. So just like here, let me open this with Google Sheets so you can see it better. So just like you have that form, right, to do your personal now, right? Like this is the business one. So you could go back through all of your, your accounts and go, okay, what did I spend on this? What did I pay for that? It gives you that's pretty much everything that you're going to spend, or everything that you're going to spend in your business is in one of these pieces, right? So go in and just use this, add them up and put it in the right category. Now you have your budget model based on what you've done in the last 12 months. And then you can go, okay, and what am I anticipating spending next year? Well, I want this program. Okay, let me do some research. How much is that going to cost? Right? And you might say, okay, that's going to cost